That was shared with me. If the abuser can make you feel crazy, stupid, guilty, or responsible for what happened, you won't speak up about the abuse, and then you will be silenced. This is a definite pattern of these cult leaders and narcissists. Be wary of any situation that you're being presented with where you don't perceive you're having to pay rent. Basically, it's going to be rent-free and you don't have to pay. So again, that's appealing to a sense of greed because there will always be payment. You just may not be banking on the amount or the form of the payment may come at you in a way that you had not perceived. And the payment is going to be collected. Be wary and critical of those offering you shortcuts. Situations where you don't have to do any work. That's going to be pain-free. Where you don't have to think about it. You are going to be scammed if you are lazy or don't take the initiative to do what you know you need to do. And if you're looking for a savior to come in and give you direction and build the structure or give you the discipline to do it. You are going to be solicited and people are going to approach you and try to hook you based on greed, your perceived loneliness, your desire for attention, your desire for money. These will cause you to overlook the morals and the character of who or what is speaking to you at any given moment. It will cause you to not go into your internal common sense. Too much, too soon, too fast. It's dangerous. In terms of your choice of a mate or entering into one of these cults because you think you're protecting your children, so you enter into a cult and you get into something that is not going to be easy to extract yourself out of or to extract your children out of, particularly also once a lot of programming that you had not banked on has been embedded into your child's and also your own mind. Young adults in their late teens and their early 20s are not exempt from being manipulated. Although they are chronologically at a legal age by popular society to drink, it in no way means they have the maturity to make certain decisions without guidance. Usually the late teens to 20s are when young people make some of the worst mistakes that could stay with them most likely for a lifetime when it comes to having children that they have not prepared for. They're not prepared to be parents, or contracting a disease, or creating all kinds of debt. You can make some really poor decisions because their maturity and the wisdom has not been cultivated. Teens and young adults, they don't really have any wisdom yet, right? That comes with life experience. Mothers, know that you will be approached and manipulated off of your fear around your children in a very volatile world, and your fear that I have to act now, so I have to get my money now. This is sales 101 that can get you to lay your money down, importantly, on making a decision to perhaps let a predator into your midst because he proposes to be a father figure for your children or protection. But quite often, who is protecting you from the protection? Yeah, because that's what is showing up. A lot of folks that's supposed to be protecting you are actually violating and taking advantage of a fatherhood position or a leadership position and actually abusing when they should be protecting and violating when they should be protecting. Sales 101 and the art of convincing people is to create a sense of urgency. We have to move right now. Example, right now Joseph Robinson, aka High Priest Kwatamani, one of his main mates, he got her to give up her house and her car and all of her possessions, most of her possessions, with a sense of urgency. You have to leave now, right? To get somebody to panic. You have to move. You have to move now. It creates a lot of confusion. So just saying the words are not, it's more so than airing anybody out. Folks need to understand in order to get the lessons before it's after the fact, after you've been taken to the bank and been traumatized. And there's not everybody that makes it back from being traumatized. So folks that are trying to get you to urgently act by now, or we have to move now, or they want to get into your pants right now, and they have not been tested. You're putting yourself at risk, because someone that sees themselves as very precious and knows themselves as very precious is not going to take uncalculated risks with their life, with their mental and emotional health, with future generations. Not only did this man get her to give up her possessions, but he got her, and she wasn't a teenager or in her 20s, to walk away from her child, her young adult child. And he wasn't in his 20s. He was still, I don't even know if he was a young teenager. So again, just talking around things without giving any kind of examples, without giving you too much, but giving you enough to paint an example. Because sometimes if we don't give any example, then people don't get it. And people think that you're sitting here ranting and raving about nothing. So had I not been privy to certain information, there's no way I would have been able to totally see from a distance and put things together that did not make sense. And then also, folks don't know about the history of Joseph Robinson with his own children that are not there, and the situation with all the other mates and the other children. And he's not going to volunteer this information. And if he does, you will not be allowed to question him. Pimp Con Technique 101, Testimonials. So he would bring us all into, the different members and initiates into private meetings, constantly have us in different meetings, private meetings, sometimes even amongst family members, private meetings where, mated people that came together would be separated from each other. Mother and son would be separated from each other. My sister and I would be separated from each other and have these meetings. And one of the meetings, one of his main mates, the librarian, his feminine speaking voice, who often wears glasses, he had to say, go ahead, tell her how many times, wanted to leave. And she would just sit there. Everything was cued by him. He really controlled all of the conversations, even though he would say, they all speak for themselves. They're all adults. Nobody's holding you here. Technique. Watch. Peep the game. He said, go ahead, tell her how many times you wanted to leave. And out of this woman's own mouth, she said to me, oh, just more times than I care to remember. So there's a lot of stuff that it was so crafty. He would cue all of the conversations and the answers. And quite often, when he would ask a question of someone, one of his cult members of the adults, the adults would look at him to do a check-in to see what the answer should be. So again, these are things that you're not going to hear about. So this man used his mates to manipulate us, and that is a technique. Usually cults will use some of their members to lure in their family members, or use women to lure in other men, or use young men to lure in other young men. Jim Jones used basketball to lure other young men into his cult, which was something that I didn't know. That's one of the things that Joseph Robinson, aka Earth, Soul, and Messiah, uses. But he wanted us to give up our bank accounts, even though we had invested, and I know I had invested so much money and trusting this man. But he wanted us to give up our bank accounts. So it was a long process and a breaking process of gaining your trust. And he would get his queen mother, someone that we had taken a liking to and had a great amount of respect for, come to take us for, it was a process and a pattern, walk us through the garden before he would hit us up for more money, or take us for a ride to show us beautiful coconut trees and stuff before he would hit us with, for more money, or make excuses for why money that was given wasn't used for the purpose that it was given for. So I'm just giving just a few examples so you can understand. Otherwise, you may not be able to put into a context of what I'm saying. But these manipulators are highly manipulative, and they will use other women to lure you in. They will use other of your peers to lure you in and give you what it is that you want. If that's friendship, if that's sisterhood, or this concept of brotherhood, they're going to give you what you want, your desires, so that you can be manipulated. But I'm very clear, and it was heartbreaking, but it is what it is, tough lesson. That also we let our guards down with women, but women are often used to lure other women in. And he was using his women. One of the comments he said to us about one of his mates, she said, "I gave up my bank account. How come they don't have to give up theirs?" So all these little key things that you are not privy to as you're watching these videos, these are the things, and especially as someone that's not in their 20s or 30s, that makes it so clear that it is a cult. It was a cult. And these are some things for you to look out for. Peep the patterns. Often the cult leader is questioning you and auditing you, but you're limited in the questions that you are able to ask him or her, but usually a him. I'm definitely speaking to a him in this case. So you want to step back. Just step back. Don't take my word for it. And look at the patterns. And then also they'll take advantage of if you feel like you're being rude and you don't have the confidence to speak up and ask direct questions. And then quite often you'll be diverted from the answer to the question. They usually never answer the questions. So a lot of times they're masters of deflection and not answering the questions, and you're walking away more confused with a bunch of rhetoric, semantics, and gobbledygook, and never having had the exact questions answered. Thus, they get off the hook with no accountability. Okay, so something just right now in the spirit I'm just going to address. And hopefully there's a maturity so that folks won't take this personally, right? Ever since my family and my best sister friend and I, got out of the Joseph Robinson cult, aka High Priest, self-proclaimed Earth Solar Messiah, self-proclaimed High Priest Kwatamani, and his other names. Ever since we got out of this cult, the second, we're not even hot out the cult, and we're being approached within a matter of minutes of folks saying, throwing key phrases around, like Queen. And don't get me wrong, I appreciate being addressed with terms of respect. But throwing key phrases around, Queen, and so on, within minutes, seconds, saying, I have a better plan, right? Okay, if you have a plan, something is off here. And this is something, I'm going to put this out to mature women and to younger women. How do you qualify someone that you're letting into your space? Everybody can be an author today, when one time that wasn't accessible to most people. So people can go key things around to give you credibility. You can have certificates, degrees, online degrees, pictures, Photoshop, eloquent words. I've studied here. You can have this whole resume. You can have YouTube videos. You can dress up the suits. You can have makeup on. They've even got makeup that you can peel off and on. You can have all different types of designs and stuff. That's not enough of a qualifier. I heard a small clip of the current president of the United States. One of the clips. There's only but so much time you can spend on the screen because, I have stuff to do in the garden. I'm going to make you guys, when he goes out and he campaigns in the South, I'm going to make you guys rich. Oh, so rich. So rich. We are in a time where people will overlook morals and character for what people can so-called do for you economically. And obviously that hasn't worked. Worldwide, this whole thing for more. The planet has been just totally exploited for a bunch of things that we put in the garbage. It's only 365 days in a year. How many outfits can we wear? How much makeup can we put on? At some point, you got to wash that stuff off so your skin can breathe. These are the things that the key phrases that people throw out as success. I can offer you this. Don't get me wrong. Economics, a system of economics, is a reality. And there's more than one system of economics or currency. There are more, as I've said to my son, there's more than one form of currency. There are different forms of currency, not just paper money. There's skills, there's knowledge. People can teach you how to do for yourself. But that's not what I'm talking about here. Something that is bothersome and really off. And, again, hopefully folks won't take it personal, but I can only tell you from where I sit as a mother and somebody that's experienced trauma. It's like a level of sensitivity. This is how it can be perceived. If someone has just been pimped, you don't come with another program where you could be perceived as a pimp. What makes you different from the next person? You don't know me. There's no sensitivity to what the person has been through. And then, unfortunately, any feigned sensitivity is so that come over to my camp. I'm not interested in anybody's camp. And I'm going to say this to some women, come to my church. Come to my church. I'm not interested in worshiping something outside of my own being. I'm interested in my common sense to come up with who qualifies in terms of their morals and their character. I cannot see your morals and your character from a screen. I might get an idea, but people paint pictures and avatars all the time. Scamming has always been around. It's at an all-time high. So I say this respectfully, something to just be mindful of for women. Again, be super critical about who you're letting into your mind, into your space. Because it's easy to get scammed. It's not hard to get scammed. And as women, we're very vulnerable because we care about the children. We have a soft side for the children. Other women show us images of family, show us images of prosperity, show us what appears to be, a father figure, and we just melt. In many cases, people, their underwear comes down. They let down their defenses. It's too much. So the responsibility is on us to have discernment. Now, somebody could say that's made throughout the word that, the BIH word, or, that's not feminine or whatever. I'm not really concerned with other people's interpretation, but what I can tell you, what I stand firm, and wisdom is hard earned. There has to be something else to qualify you before somebody can take your advice. Plenty of people, and we're fast to point out other people that have tricked indigenous people out of their lands, and our own community people will trick you. Your brothers, your father, if you have them, will tell you people will trick you or trick their way into your drawers or into your bank account. Just because you could throw some words around and say I have a plan and throw the words around queen is not enough of a qualifier for somebody to follow you or to make an investment with you. And it's I find it insensitive, even if that's not the intention. I'm just expressing how it shows up. There's not a level of sensitivity. And I can tell you that there have been numerous folks that have, the ones that have hidden, it's not as much as it could be, right? But there are numerous folks that show up or have shown up and put forth, I have a better plan, right? No one, in terms of the mature males, had spoken anything about holding predators accountable or doing an investigation. There's no level of accountability. Everything is discussed and pushed under the rug. There's no level of accountability for misdoings or scamming. There's not even basic investigation so that you can learn from the other folks that are misusing women and children. There's no investigation. If anything, I'm observing pimps studying other pimps so they can sharpen their game, which I'm sure Joseph Robinson is doing, a.k.a. High Priest Kwatamani, because he's an OG. He sits back and he's learning from everybody else, so he can craft up his game. But I'm just saying this to say, I don't find there's a level of sensitivity to come and have a conversation with folks who have been in the cult about, I have another plan for you. You've been traumatized and scammed by that one, but I got a better plan. Would that be common sense? Would you say that to your daughter or to your son? That doesn't make any sense. Is it all just about the money? Morals and character. Some people can fake it, but it's going to show itself sooner or later. So all that to say, throwing the words around queen and brother and melanin popping, and that's not enough to say something about somebody's character, because it takes a while It takes a while for you really to see folks. You don't know folks on the internet. Most likely a lot of folks around you, you don't know them. And it is essential that we have a better vetting process. And that's not coming from religion, because most of the religions will dumb you down and have you turn the other cheek and ignore what is going on in front of you. It's not making a sharper critical thinking. That would make no sense at all. Wisdom is hard earned from some butt-kicking lessons. So, before you, sister folks, before you invite somebody to your church, which is very insensitive, folks not necessarily looking for a church to sit around and beg and plead, all day, when there's work to be done. You know what I'm saying? There's no shortage of churches. And look at our economic state and the state of our health. There ain't no shortage of churches. There's no shortage of plans. But I invite you to think of then what's missing. Morals, character, self-discipline, a commitment. All the churches in the world have not stopped folks walking away from their children or folks abusing their children. So there's something in-house that needs to be dealt with. And if your morals and character is like that, they will show. This person, Joseph Robinson, it appeared that he had morals and character. But upon closer examination, he did not, because there were too many things that did not add up. And if we're not so emotional and seeing what we want to see, we'll see the things that don't add up. Because unfortunately, the romanticism of somebody is coming to save us, in full acceptance that that's not coming. That my feminine common sense that I can accept. There's no sky god coming to help, whatever name you want to call it, chanting and sitting in meditation and seeing colors. That's not coming to save me. Discernment, so that I can make better, not struggle to make choices, but clarity. Clarity. If it's one thing I've observed and experienced, clarity is worth its weight in gold, because that is what has helped me get up and walk out. That is what guides my food choices. That's what guides my morals and my character. Clarity. Then I don't have to try so much, because if I do this, this is definitely going to happen to me. So if I was to go by the words of peace and blessings and queen, although those things, it's great, but a lot of it oftentimes is superficial. So we need some other types of qualifiers before you follow anybody or anybody's plan. Better off to keep it simple and to do what you know you need to do, till you can get to another level to attract something different. But there must be vetting processes. There must be a litmus test. How do you qualify who's speaking to you at any point in time and what they're coming with? And a lot of that will go to your internal compass, which can often be in conflict with what you're seeing out of your eyes. Because what you're seeing out of your eyes, oh, this person is fine. Oh, look at their hair. Oh, look at their muscles. Oh, look at their car. You don't know what their credit rating is. You don't know what their criminal record is. Don't know how they pay their bills. You don't know how they talk to their mother. You don't know if they've left their children. You can't see all of that stuff necessarily from online, and people don't want you to see it. So all that to say, I'm just being honest. I'm expressing it as a concern, because when folks do call, the vibration is they're calling. I can sit and I can watch. The few times, numerous but few, if I look at it, that the phone blows up or people try to contact us, it's with another plan. Come follow me. Really? You don't think folks have had enough of following folks? Better to go slower and not keep engaging and investing in things that are not qualified as a good investment. Before we can talk about any kind of plan and building, what has to occur first is safety. There has to be a demonstration, not in words, a consistent demonstration of morals and character, knowing that we can feel safe. At this point, it has come to a point where women, really, in all our femininity, need to take responsibility for being healthy and learning how to protect ourselves. Because waiting, it's not looking too good for us. So I can't build when the young women and girls being molested, and children and boys. We can't build when you're being molested. We can't build when we're being scammed out of our hard-earned money. right? Many of us that are working full time and going to school full time and holding it down the best we can. We can't build. We can't get you your fantastic financial plans when there's no morals, no character, and no safety. So until that is demonstrated, it is up to women to be healthy enough and learn how to protect ourselves and to start to choose better. Choose better at who we're choosing to have children with. Not because they're fine or they have gift of gab and they have degrees for money. They must demonstrate morals and character. So just like we want to say that men should keep it in their pants, then women need to keep our legs closed, and not open ourselves to diseases or to the energies and the habits of other people until we can demonstrate some kind of maturity, cultivate some kind of maturity for the responsibility that goes with engaging with other folks sexually, right? And put the lust in check. It has a place. It has a place, but responsibility has to be there. But I will say, how are we talking about building when women and black women cannot feel safe and protected? And it goes beyond the words of queen. There's responsibility, respect and responsibility. Responsibility has actions attached to it, and respect has actions attached to it. It's not when we're in the mood or when we're trying to sell something, or it's Mother's Day that somebody else made up, or a holiday or Christmas or a reunion. Until we can demonstrate and cultivate patience and have our temper under control and learn how to communicate in ways that are nonviolent with each other, then what use of it trying to build something? Because if we're not communicating effectively and respectively, that's going to show up in business. And we will sabotage our efforts every single time. Every effort will be aborted. So before we can get to the planning and the building, some cleaning up needs to take place. Otherwise, it's on a shaky, non-solid foundation. And again, every mission will be aborted. So this communication is meant to be clear, more so than harsh. It is meant to be clear because clarity is hard-earned. Wisdom is hard-earned from life experiences, and we need to protect wisdom and use it. Yeah. So no more investing in folks just because they throw some terms around. King, queen. I read this history book. I read that book. It's not enough. What you have read or what you know. If you don't demonstrate it, no more of making the best fruits of me open and available, unless it's a small child. No more making that available and investing in folks who have not demonstrated that they can hold, that they have the maturity to respect and hold the precious gift of our vulnerability. And I encourage that for males as well as females, especially young adults. It's not worth it. It's not worth it's a poor investment. There's no return on your investment. No more of getting the best of the creativity and the focus. It takes a long time to develop discipline around your eating and your health. You put all that time and investment into yourself, it doesn't make sense to waste it on someone who has not proven a good investment, that has demonstrated that they can respect and care for all that you have invested in yourself. Again, this is males and females. Stop giving, I recommend, I can't tell grown folks what to do. We don't have to make ourselves, and I encourage folks not to make yourself so available to folks that are not a good investment. And looking at all these celebrities and all these folks online that are entertainment only. And the same goes whether that's cultural entertainment as well. Folks have to be vetted before you make an investment of your time, your energy, your creativity into them. Your essence of your life, the best years of your life, as one of my good friends used to say. Before you invest the best years of your life, folks have to demonstrate there's a maturity and there's a discipline, that they have a track record over time. It's also up to us to do due diligence and researching and not looking at folks superficially on what they appear they have or what they look like or their gift of gab, right? And this is long term. So folks, it's up to us to start to take our time before we put all of our investment of our life energy into folks so that we can see some change. And then perhaps we'll see something different within our life cycle and within the next generation. But we're not choosing well, and often it's because of low esteem. And when we have cultivated esteem, then we'll be motivated from within to consume better in terms of relationships, food. You'll naturally want to be motivated. It's a natural progression to want to eat better, to want to grow food. A natural lifestyle is simple. It's a natural progression of when there is esteem. And no, that doesn't mean everybody's gonna move to the tropics, because you have to create. You have the opportunity to create that quality life from where you are with what you have. I did it in the city. I'm doing it where I am in Central America. And as my godfather and my godparents would say, create better family, friends, and homes in all walks of life. Just simple principles. Simple. You do the best you can. You can create a good life from wherever you are. You don't have to necessarily be in the tropics. It doesn't have to be 10 million people. If you have lots of units of folks that have esteem and a quality relationship with themselves and their units, it starts there rather than with the rhetoric.